Hello and welcome to GoaCast. This is the official podcast for Goafest. I have with me the very versatile, the very pretty, charming Jo Jackson.
Very versatile. Thank you so much.
How has India been for you? First, let's begin with that one. You've come in like scorching heat, but are you enjoying?
I won't deny it's definitely a bit. It's hot for me coming from London. It's awesome. I was here only a few months ago, but I'm so happy to be back. I was lucky enough to actually get a few days in
Nice.
Goa. Actual Goa.
Actual Goa.
Actual
So
Goa.
you actually did the fest there.
I didn't get the memo. I'm joking. I got a few days in Goa. I feel refreshed, well fed. And I'm here, day 2. It's feeling good. Thank you.
Let's begin with talking about D&Ad. Tell us more about what is it exactly that you guys specialize, do, and what is the vision with that you've had?
Yeah, absolutely. So D&Ad, as you said, 1962. It's an old, it's a charity actually. Not a lot of people know that, but it's famous for its awards. It's the pencils, the kind of eponymous yellow pencil. It's the one that everybody wants to win. It's probably one of the most difficult awards to win in the world. And essentially it stands for creative excellence, global creative excellence. So the criteria is really simple. It's a beautiful idea, well executed and relevant for its audience. And so we get judges from all over the world. We did it last week in London from around, I think it was 60 countries this year, 300 judges in total, come and decide what is the best work from around the world. And we had a truly international range of award-winning work this year. Our toughest award is a black one. And we had 4 winners from all over the world, which was really amazing to make sure that, we represent true global creative excellence. But that's the front side of D&Ad is the awards and the celebration of the talent that's in the industry. But because it's a charity, we're all about the education. So everything that we generate, the income we generate from the awards and people entering the awards, from amazing big networks to independents, comes back into funding the next generation of creatives. Yeah, so we run a few programs for that. One is called the New Blood Awards, which is a junior version of our professionals. But the project that I'm probably most passionate about is a project called Shift. And that is a free night school, 5-month free night school that's for underrepresented talent. It's for talent that maybe couldn't get into the industry. And we work with amazing brands and agencies to provide this free 5-month night school for talent to help get them into the business and maybe an opportunity they didn't ordinarily have. So we run that in London, New York, Sydney, Sao Paulo. I had to count on my hands now because there's so many of them, and Berlin. Yeah. One of the reasons why I'm excited to come back to Mumbai is we really want to launch the project here as well.
That was going to be my next question to you.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. No. I'm happy you brought that up. When you see India, and we've also come a long way, and there are a lot of associations that are happening. How do you see D&Ad and that association happening here? I'm sure that is what brings you also here to Goafest, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, well, we came here with our masterclass, a part of our learning programs. So it's also about the professional development, not just about the young talent, but we're always continuing to learn, right? Otherwise, we will fail if we don't keep learning. But I think there's 2 parts with D&Ad being here and why it's important for me and our team that we are more present and learning as well ourselves. I think there's incredible projects and creative projects that are coming out of India that maybe don't necessarily have the global platform. So one side is to remind people to get their work into that and to get it, and win the black pencil, and it helps the teams and the business, correct. Of course. But also one about, I think, on the learning programs and the shift and the ways that we can work together to help make the industry more representative and more inclusive, whatever that looks like in any market. Every market has its own challenges.
Right.
How it is, the underrepresentation in the UK is different to how it is in Australia.
Correct.
To how it is in India. So the point of Shift is really not a one-size-fits-all, but what are the barriers young talent face today in that market, and how can we partner with local brands and agencies, networks, institutions to try and help shape a better creative future?
And good luck with that one. So
Together, we'll do it together.
You will do together. Thank you for saying that. Talking about D&AD, like I said, it's been something that's been around since 1962, and we are sitting here into 2024. Adaptability has been such a huge part of it. I want you to talk to us about that. What are those, major adaptability lessons that you guys have learned in the journey that you guys have had?
Sure. I think the creative industry and advertising industry is constantly changing, right? It has to keep up with the consumers. The consumers are evolving, the generations are changing, and we have to adapt to that. We've been seeing some great talks on that as well. I guess the stereotypes of women and what women were meant to be in the home, it's, selling a vacuum cleaner or a cleaning product so that your house was clean for when your husband came home. That's not necessarily what we'd be calling creative excellence today. And that's why it's really important for us as an institute to make sure we have representation in our juries, not just from gender perspective, but also from different cultures, so that we can all understand what stands for creative excellence. And so, for example, I think one of the pencil winners that won this year was My Japan Railway.
Okay.
From Dentsu in Tokyo. And it was so important to have representation from Japan in the room to understand the nuances of this really beautiful project that not only was efficient and looked great, but also what it meant as a culture. And I just want to be able to kind of see more of that, to really understand like what makes a great campaign, not effective, but just truly brilliant. Sorry, I don't know if that answers your question. I just went off on a tangent.
No, it does. I think what you're saying, what I understand is that through this, it opens and helps us to understand culture in a much more visual form, in a much more easier way. And it's a great representation. You brought a very interesting point there about gender, and that was my next question to you. You being in a position of a leader, and I want to talk about women leadership, and I want to talk about the global landscape for it. Today, there is no boundaries when it comes down to women leadership, right? What is it for you when I say terms like breaking the glass ceiling of women in power?
It's a big question, that one. I think there's a lot of amazing efforts going on in many different cultures to try and make sure that we get true gender representation at the top. But with that, it takes time. And you can fast track people. But the problem, and I think things like that comes from a really great place to help fast track talent and make it representative at the top. But the slight challenge that you have with that is one of fragility, because certain roles you need to have the experience and you learn through doing. You can't jump through those hoops just to get at the top, just so that the board looks equal. If they, what if they fail? They haven't learned the skills that they need to. It's not stable enough in terms of their own education and experience. So I worry a little bit about these fast track programs, which come from the right place, but I wonder about the stability of what you go through to get fast track with that. I think also I don't know, as a mum, you are wearing some of the great talks this morning that I know Raj was in. It's like you're wearing many hats as a female, and the constant maternal guilt of am I spending enough time with my children, and then the need to kind of run the businesses. I think you've got to be robust enough to handle that. Maybe that's not for everybody, or maybe the industry needs to change to adapt to that. The working hours, so on and so forth, the working cultures, how you network and how you do business. There's kind of institutional challenges with that, and a lot of the businesses and stuff happens in the networking evening events. And I don't know about you, but I might prefer to be at home with my daughter and have those few hours in the evening, and I've missed this opportunity to kind of network and to kind of do that deal over a few beers, So there's but that will come with time, with the generations shifting, and you do see the younger millennials and the Gen Zs not have that same drive to want to do business in the way that it has always been done. So I think that will be a cultural change that will take time.
It will take time, but we are getting in there. My last question to you is about advertising. Okay. And like we spoke, advertising is handled very differently in the West as compared to what we are doing in India. But Today, again, which like just having a crossover right there. How is it different? What is it that you like, dislike on both the sides of it?
I think I've had the pleasure of going to so many different markets in my role.
Yeah.
It's really quite incredible, and be able to sit in various different award shows and just watching the creative work is probably one of the bits that I love the most about coming to the international award shows, is to see work that I maybe haven't seen. I trained as a graphic designer originally, and all markets are so vastly different. Like I said before, it's kind of not that one size fits all.
Fits all.
And looking at ones that have won in China, and I need help to translate and understand why the beautiful copywriting was just absolutely so poignant and brilliant, to the point where once it's been explained to me, makes me cry. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
Now, you can't pick that up and then go and put it in a Super Bowl ad.
Absolutely not.
Right. But so I think it's just all about the understanding and taking the time to understand the cultural nuances and the differences and respect everybody's own creative excellence.
Right. Joe, this has been such a fabulous chat with you. I am hard pressed on time and I wish we could continue, but I'm going to have you on more and more places where I can, because I know that there are great insights that you have to share. Thank you.
I'm not sure about that, but I'll take the compliment while you're giving it.
Yes. You're on a fabulous journey and I wish you all the luck. Thank you for doing this for us.
I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in. That is all for this episode of GoaCast. This is the official podcast for Goafest. Stay tuned in. You can watch this podcast on YouTube. You can hear the podcast on BingePods, Apple, Spotify, or wherever it is that you get your podcast from.